Aries, and welcome to your love reading for June 2018. So, just organising your cards, Aries. Loads of major arcanas, 1, 2, 3, 5 major arcanas. Always a sign of bigger processes unfolding. We've got no control over the major arcanas. They're forces that want to propel our life in a different direction, okay? Maybe there's some lessons to be learned, always lessons to be learned, Aries, okay? But they're forces beyond our control, okay? Your overall message is a judgment card. In a love reading, the judgment card is about hearing a call, okay? We can get this call in many ways. We get it just through the feelings of desire, through love, through this sort of, we get it through our dreams, our intuitions. But the judgment card is about hearing a call of love or to love. It's about second chances. Some of you might be giving a relationship another chance, or you might be hearing this calling to enter into some sort of union with someone. I'm just looking at your other cards. I cannot see anyone in particular, but I'm going to clarify a few of the cards, okay? But the judgment card is a beautiful card to have as an overall reading. It's, if you look at these cards, there's 3 people coming out of coffins. So they've got this feeling of gratitude, of joy, of happiness, which is a magnet for love in all its forms, okay? So the past is the Justice card. This is a card of Libra. It's about trying to get the scales balanced. I tend to read Justice card as a harvest card, what you need manifesting. It can sometimes represent waiting for harvest, but I will clarify actually. Your present condition is your own card, which is the Emperor, I am and I will, and it's right next to this Judgment card. It's with the 6 of discs. Most signs have got the 6 of discs, by the way. There seems to be a lack. Everyone seems to be getting the same message. There's a conversation that needs to be had. A very authentic, very real conversation needs to be had. And maybe, Aries, you're sort of resisting this because the Emperor in a love reading doesn't flow very well. His energy is very much about life direction, focus, and not always the best energy to have in love, unless you focus this energy into this real authentic dialogue that needs to take place between you and someone else. That is the way to work with both these cards, okay? So maybe you're hearing a call to try and converse with someone about a relationship, about a love interest. I'm really, really not sure. But your outcome is the 8 of Wands. The 8 of Wands is a card about communication. It's about travel, long distance, short distance, but definitely a very, very dynamic communication card. It's a very positive card, very optimistic and very light-hearted energy. But I still think a conversation needs to be had. Just about everyone's getting this card. Because what happens is people do not dialogue. And when we don't dialogue, we cannot have the relationships that we seek, because our energy is all held within, and that makes you really unwell, Aries. So there might be a calling, yeah, because it's with the Ace of Cups, to renew or reconnect with either an existing relationship or a new one, because the call is here is to love, but a conversation needs to be had. So your best path to follow is the Moon card. Again, there's definitely a sense of having to have a conversation, but then pulling back and allowing. So a classic example would be if you try to clear the air with someone, but then you didn't overly wait for the outcome. You pulled your energy back, you went into your own inner world. The Moon card is also always about our deep emotions. It also represents our past, our family, all of that stuff. So there seems to be a message about communicating, but then pulling your energy back, not chasing, going within, doing whatever work that needs to be done there, because we're always having to work with our Moon energy, because our Moon energy is about our emotional body. It's about looking after it and looking after your well-being, okay? In your environment card, you've got the Magician card. So this is what's coming at you. Very powerful, very positive major arcana, okay? It's about manifestation, actualizing, trying to get focused and intention on certain parts of your life. And I think it's definitely about these cards, about trying to bring forth some sort of change in a very important relationship or meeting someone very important, okay? Now your hopes and fears are the Ace of Swords. Very interesting. The Ace of Swords is a very double-edged sword. So sometimes we don't always want to really see the truth. Sometimes we prefer to hide out in the Moon card, in our emotions, and not want to see the truth of something. But as we know, Aries, the truth shall set you free. But there's definitely an energy of hoping for new clarity and new sight, but it's sort of having this sort of fear. And when it turns up as a fear, it's almost a sense of, well, maybe if I knew the full truth of a situation, it means I'd have to let it go. If I knew the full truth, it means that I might have to take an action. I am not sure why this clarity is showing up as your hopes and fears. But the outcome is the Nine of Discs followed by the Six of Wands, okay? So Nine of Discs is a card of still spending time and reflection. 18 goes down to a 9, the Moon card, and the number 9, very much the card about being quite introspective, but not forced introspection, because this card is notoriously the alone and loving it card. So this isn't about being lonely, it's about being in quite deep thought, and it's with the Six of Wands, which is victory and success. But you've got a really interesting reading here, because you're really called, Aries, to try and communicate with someone about the Ace of Cups, about love. You're hearing this call. So if it's an existing relationship, maybe you've been asked to clarify it, to get real about your intentions, where you want this relationship to go, what's going on. Or it's a new love interest. And again, you've got this strange paradox about being asked to communicate and go forward. But then it's like, so 1 minute you're daytime, and then you go into the night, and you go into that much more reflective, very, very deep place of the Moon card. But a lot of intentions have been set, desires, in order to start on a new life path. And then the Ace of Swords, there's a sort of sense of hopes and fears, That if you could see everything clearly, it might mean that you have to make drastic choices. We don't always like what we see with the Ace of Swords. Sometimes we do. But there's a sense of, well, if I had perfect clarity, then maybe I would have to make some real significant changes. But the outcome is you still being quite deep in reflection, then followed by success, overcoming obstacles and overcoming difficulties. So you've got an interesting paradox here this month, Aries, okay? I like it. It's a combination of genuine communication paired with reflective thinking, okay? And look out for the weeklies. You might get more insight, okay? Loads of love. Bye.